Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Today we're once again going to go ahead with another book summary that I've started yesterday, I guess. I'm actually not quite sure, but might be yesterday, should be yesterday, could be yesterday, but it is what it is anyway. Let's actually get rid of the cable so that I maybe hopefully do not make any sounds, even though it is actually incredibly easy to fuck with the cable, quite, yeah. Well, anyway, we started with another health book, a book about health, a book about maybe staying healthy, maybe being healthy, and maybe one of the reasons why we aren't healthy at this point of time, at this point of age and whatnot. Even though I would say that it may not be the best book that I've ever encountered in my whole entire life. It may actually be one of those that are actually not that good. And I do have a slight feeling that I once before went through it, but I don't know, I couldn't really tell whether this is the case, whether I'm wrong or right or whatnot, but I'm going through it anyway. But apparently I haven't, because YouTube would say when uploading something, oh yeah, you've already uploaded that, motherfucker. But no, not the case at this point. Anyway, I do hope that you can see it now, and it is way too big. Well, congrats, I'd say. Congrats. But it may actually be fine. It's not. It definitely is not fine. Does this make any difference if I'm... No, it doesn't. But is it good like this? Does this make any sense? Well, it kind of does. Could make myself a bit bigger. And also not do that. But do this. And really like that. It should be fine. It should be fine. And why is there something like it is? I think that we've stopped with point or key idea number 3, which is, let me see, I think that we skipped it, or I've skipped it already. I guess so, but I'm not sure. Meat. Or I have actually indeed stopped midnight. No, meat substitutes. Now it gets pretty juicy because, of course, meat substitutes are really fucking bad and whatnot. I'm at least just, kind of anticipating it. But who knows? Maybe it's the truth, maybe it's the case, maybe he's also talking about something completely different. I can't say, I don't know, but it is what it is. Did you know alternatives to red meat are nothing new? Today we have many food choices available to us, so it's easier to eat a balanced vegetarian diet than in the past. Although not all people developed a taste for fish rather than red meat, predominant it in many cultures. Do you wonder how it happened? Red meat was hard to come by in many areas, so fish was incorporated into their diets as an accessible and nutritious food. Since fatty fish contains loads of healthy omega-3 fatty acids, let me actually turn it slightly. Does this make sense? I guess it does. Today we have blah 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 blah. Do you wonder how it happened? Fish was incorporated. Since fatty fish contains loads of healthy omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D, important for bone health, this was a smart choice. Yes, makes sense. Because fish is good. Period. Not every culture with easy access to fish chose to eat it. There were cultural reasons for this. While some cultures regarded fish as a sacred animal living in a sacred element, others, such as the Apache Indians considered fish to be unclean and unfit to eat, as of course, we know certain religions and maybe even cultures also, or just some other cultures in general, say that you should not be eating a certain thing, a certain food and whatnot, maybe even in combination with something else, or just preparing it in a certain way so that you are quote unquote allowed to eat it, or so that you can eat it, which is understandable. Like, I'm not saying I'm having anything against that and whatnot, it's just what it is, and this is just another reason why things have not been eaten. But for me, it is actually always interesting to know what is the real reason for that. Why is it considered to be unclean and unfit to eat? There must be a reason, and I do often believe that there is a reason that is more intellectual than one might think. When it might be about, I don't know, pig's meat or pork, so to speak. Is there a good reason why you should not be eating it? Maybe there is, maybe actually indeed back in the days this animal was dirty. Maybe actually as well in terms of the fish, maybe it was indeed dirty back in the days, and therefore it was just really smart not to eat it, because of poisons, food poisoning and so on and so forth. Animal milk was another important meat substitute that entered the human diet around 8,000 years ago. But animal milk isn't as healthy for human consumption as you may think, though it is often still regarded as an elixir of sorts. Northern Europeans were among the first people to realize the benefits of animal milk. It is nutritious and rich in calcium. Most importantly, an animal can only be eaten once, but it can be milked many times over. While statistics link milk consumption to an increase in the growth of children, this boost in height could come at the price of bone health. There is a correlation that can be seen in the nations with the highest dairy intake. The citizens of these nations with high above average height also experience higher rates of hip fractures. Yes, indeed. Even though many studies and many people say, and many whatever have said in the past as well, that it is extremely important to have your calcium through milk and milk products and whatnot. There is a correlation to osteoporosis, and well, I guess it was osteoporosis, please just take it with a grain of salt, and milk consumption, that at some point it's not good anymore. There is a point, up to this point, it is good, but afterwards, if you're just drinking way too much milk, that this is just gonna be kind of reversed or something like that, something along these lines. I don't know why it happens, I don't know how it happens, but it apparently is a thing. Milk consumption can result in a further issue for people from regions with little history of dairy consumption, i.e. Asian countries. These people absorb calcium more effectively than those from regions where milk is traditionally consumed. This means that these people might experience dangerously elevated calcium levels if they drink a lot of milk. High blood calcium levels have been linked to prostate cancer. Next up, we'll explore the history of vegetables and their place in the nutritional hierarchy. I could actually... Should I do it like this? Does this make sense? Or do I just blow everything out and shit? Well, I don't know. 100 million years of food. Key idea number 4, eating plants. Your parents probably insisted at one time or another that you eat your veggies. We all know veggies are healthy and packed with nutrients, right? The truth is, most plants are actually unhealthy and many are even dangerous. The fuck? Why? Consider this. Plants cannot run and are surrounded by other organisms that want to eat them. Well, one of the reasons why some plants can be eaten and some plants can't be eaten. And that is actually quite it. I'm just kind of figuring things out again with the microphone. My question is, what if I'm very close to it? Because I kind of want to get rid of the background noise as much as I can while being very close to the microphone, so that I may be able to get around that, not having that much background noise, even though I'm just trying to filter it out, but sometimes it's just not working or not properly working. Anyway, yes, some plants can be eaten and some cannot be eaten because they are dangerously poisonous. For example, there might be also some other reasons, in terms of you would have to prepare them at first, and then you can eat them. They have no choice but to defend themselves since they can't escape. They do this by producing chemicals that discourage, harm, and sometimes kill the animals that try to eat them. Basically, engaging in chemical warfare. Yeah, it's the case. Nothing to be like, okay, no, it's not the case. It is the case, yeah. But I wouldn't. Well, I don't know. I mean, if this person is saying most plants are actually unhealthy. What does unhealthy mean? I would actually say dangerous, because they probably are poisonous. By most people, this could actually indeed be the case. If you think about most, well, not most people, but most plants. When you think about most plants, how many different plants are we having on this fucking planet? Like really, really, really fucking many. And the chance is very high that most of them you should not eat. It is really high. Chance is really, really, really fucking high. So something to keep in mind. If you think about a macro level, of course, when you're just having a look at plants around you, I guess, well, maybe kind of as well. I mean, you can eat grass. If you should, this is another debate for another day. You could eat leaves, I guess. I don't know if you should, and so on and so forth. I mean, there are, well, anyway. Wild vegetables can contain bitter substances or toxins to discourage consumption, and it is only the domesticated versions where these traits have been bred out. Beans, lentils, and soybeans are a good example. They contain chemicals called lectins, which can make you sick, could cause liver damage. A type of lectin called ricin, R-I-C-I-N, is one of the most lethal poisons known to man. I do eat a lot of lentils. I really do, and also beans, and also soybeans, whether it is in form of soy sauce or fermented to, is it fermented? I don't know, but tofu, and so on and so forth. I like soy products. I think they're pretty good. Also soy milk, which apparently isn't good for your fucking testosterone levels, but I don't care. To some degree, I don't care. But still, this is a bit of a debate, and I do understand the point of, okay, we were not made to do this, blah, 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 but we have evolved, and at this point in time, we can consume it. So why shouldn't we? On one hand. On the other hand, if it is really bred out, then isn't this also good, because we can now eat it, and we can get some protein from these sources and from other sources, not only meat. Well, I don't know, I do have a slight feeling that it's always always to the negative, like you should not eat this, you shouldn't eat that, but when we're kind of able to do so, why shouldn't I? Which is a very bad argument in many ways, but I do know that you understand what I mean. It's found in the seeds of the castor oil plant and cause a painful death even in tiny amounts. Kind of makes you wonder why humans begin eating plants in the first place, doesn't it? Humans turned toward agriculture occurred around 12,000 years ago in many parts of the world. Simultaneously, the theory is other food options became scarce, so we turned to cultivating and eating plants. Which makes sense, I guess. The primary theory as to why this happened was overhunting by humans and the spread of trees into the grasslands they called home, caused by the extinction of large prey animals such as the mammoth. Humans began looking for other options when they lost this major food source. Plants were readily available and could be easily grown, so they seemed to be perfect option. Or the perfect option. Plant-based foods dominated most in densely populated areas and places where animals were hard to keep. Definitely also something to keep in mind. Be fond of. Just no, I'd say makes sense, but But I don't know if they really were like, okay, there is a plant, let's just fucking eat it. Let's just try if it is eatable. I couldn't even just say whether they had fire back then, and that they could have done something about that. They could have, I actually wanted to say burned it, but, would probably also not be a very good idea. But cooked it, I don't know. But in the real end, my point is, we have evolved on one hand. On the other hand, we made things edible. On the third hand, I do want to say, just because something is edible doesn't mean that you should be eating it. There's also sweets that are edible, but you probably should not eat them too much, maybe even not at all. Depends on your view and how you live life and whatnot, your values and what your job maybe even as well is. It is difficult, it really is, but I don't know. We're having 100 years on this planet. Also something to keep in mind, to some degree at least. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna end the episode here, so bye bye from the dark.